Have you ever started something with so much excitement, so much hope, so much faith, and then life just hit you? Like you took that first step, you felt that momentum, you felt that breakthrough, and then out of nowhere, you hit a wall. Or maybe it wasn't a wall. Maybe it was a detour, a delay, a disappointment, and suddenly you're standing there thinking, wait, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought this was supposed to work. What happened? That's what I want to talk about today. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Walking It Out. I am your girl, Latrice Clark Jordan, and I am so glad you're here for episode 4. And if you've been with me since the beginning, thank you for showing up week after week. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. So before we dive in, I need to address something real quick. Last week I told you that I had a special guest joining me this week, and I was so excited about it. But you know what? Plans changed, life happened, and that's actually perfect because it ties right into what we're talking about today. My guest will be joining me in future episodes, and trust me, you're going to love her story. But today, it's just me and you, walking it out together. And honestly, I think this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Because what we're diving into today is something I'm walking through right now, in real time. We're talking about setbacks. We're talking about obstacles. We're talking about what happens when you take the first step and then things don't go the way you planned. So in episode 3, we talked about transformation. We talked about how taking the first step changes you, how it grows you, how it opens doors you didn't even know existed. And I shared with you all the beautiful things that happened in my life after I started this podcast. The personal growth, the community, the purpose, the peace. But here's what I didn't tell you. Here's what I want to be real with you about today. It hasn't all been smooth. It hasn't all been easy. There have been setbacks. There have been obstacles. And there have been moments where I questioned everything. And I think that's the part of the journey that we don't talk about enough. We talk about the breakthrough. We talk about the victory. We talk about the transformation. But we don't always talk about what happens in between. We don't always talk about the struggle, the doubt, the moments where when you feel like giving up. So today, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the road getting rocky. I want to talk about what you do I want to talk about what you do when you've taken the first step. But now you're facing obstacles you didn't expect. Because here's the truth. The setbacks don't mean you made the wrong choice. The obstacles don't mean you're on the wrong path. And sometimes they mean you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, your water, whatever you're sipping on, and let's walk this out together. So let me tell you about a moment I had a few weeks ago. I was sitting at my desk, staring at my notes for this podcast, and I just felt stuck. I had the topic, I had the outline, I had everything I needed, but the words weren't coming. The inspiration wasn't there, and I started spiraling. I started thinking, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Maybe I don't have anything valuable to say. Maybe people are going to get tired of hearing from me. Maybe I should just quit while I'm ahead. And y'all, this wasn't just about the podcast. This was about everything. Because when you hit a setback in one area, it has a way of making you question everything else. It's like dominoes. One thing falls and suddenly you're doubting your whole life. But here's what I've learned. Here's what God has been teaching me. Setbacks are not stop signs. They're not signs that you made a mistake. They're not signs that you're not good enough. Sometimes setbacks are setups. I kind of got that from my pastor too. They're setups for something greater. They're setups for a deeper level of faith. They're setups for a stronger version of you. So let me break down what I've been learning about dealing with setbacks and obstacles. Because I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to think that just because things got hard, you're on the wrong path. So first, let's talk about expectation versus reality. When I started this podcast, I had all these expectations. I expected it to be hard at first, but then get easier. I expected to feel confident after a few episodes. I expected everything to just flow. But the reality is that some weeks are harder than others. Some episodes come together easily and some feels like pulling teeth. Some days I feel confident and some days I feel like an imposter. And that's okay. That's normal. That's part of the process. The problem is we live in a world that only shows us the highlight reel. We see people's success, but we don't see their struggle. We see the finished product, but we don't see the messy middle. And so when our reality doesn't match our expectations, we think something's wrong with us. But here's the truth. The messy middle is where the magic happens. The struggle is where the strength is built. The setbacks are where the character is formed. So if you're in the messy middle right now, if things aren't going the way you expected, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you guys to get that because I think I've said it in every episode because I don't want you to feel like you're alone because you're not. Like I said, I'm going through it real time. You're not failing. You're just in the process. And as I'm telling you guys this, I'm talking to myself as well. So I'm encouraging myself as I am encouraging you. And the process is just as important as the outcome. So, second, let's talk about comparison. Y'all, this is a big one for me. Because when I hit a setback, the first thing I do is look around and compare myself to other people. I look at other podcasters who seem to have it all together. I look at other people who is further along in their journey, and I start thinking, why is it so easy for them? Why am I struggling? What's wrong with me? But here's what I have to remind myself. I'm not called to their journey. I'm called to mine. God didn't give me their assignment. He gave me mine. And my journey is going to look different because I'm different. My obstacles are different. My timeline is different. My purpose is different. Comparison will steal your joy every single time. It will make you feel like you're not enough. It will make you feel like you're behind. It will make you want to quit. But when you stop comparing and start focusing on your own lane, that's when you find peace. That's when you find clarity. That's when you realize that your journey is exactly what it's supposed to be. And that's what I'm learning in real time. I had to stop comparing myself to other people. That's why I hadn't been on social media, because I always see people and their pictures or their storylines, and then how I start to compare where I am in my life. And God was like, stop doing that. That's them. But you don't see the backstory. You don't know the backstory. You live your life out the way I tell you to live your life out, and you'll be fine. I couldn't hear that. I had to grow through that. And I'm still growing through that, even in this space. So I'm walking this out with you daily in real time. Okay, so third, let's talk about the voice of doubt. Okay, let's talk about that guy. Because when you hit a setback, doubt shows up real loud. It starts whispering, "See, I told you it wouldn't work. I told you weren't ready. I told you should have waited." Dude, girl, that doubt is real loud, okay? Real loud. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing it. I was teetering the line, legit on the fence. Like, they might be right. I might not be ready. This might not be my thing. People ain't gonna listen. So I should probably stop. You'll start thinking that the setback is proof that you made the wrong choice. You'll start thinking that the obstacle is a sign to turn back. You doing that? I know I was. But here's what I'm learning. Doubt is a liar. Doubt is not from God. Doubt is the enemy trying to stop you from walking into your purpose. Because the enemy knows that if you keep going, if you push through, if you don't give up, you're going to do something powerful. You're going to impact lives. You're going to fulfill your calling. So when doubt shows up, you don't have to recognize it for what it is. You have to call it out. You have to speak truth over it. You have to remind yourself of what God said, not what doubt is saying. And that brings me to a scripture I want to share with you today. It's James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. And it says this: "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Let me read that to you again because this is powerful. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Y'all, this scripture is telling us, yes, I said us, that trials are not just something to endure. They're something to embrace. They're something to see as an opportunity, because the trial is not there to break you. It's there to build you. Have you ever looked at a trial like that? To build you? Because I know I hadn't. When you face a setback, when you hit an obstacle, it's testing your faith. It's asking the question, do you really believe what you say you believe? Wow. Do you really trust God? Are you really committed to this? Or are you only committed when it's easy? Yeah. When I tell you, when I was writing this down and those questions came to my brain, it was like a check in the spirit. Because there's no way that I can be out here talking to you and answer these questions and be like, do you really believe what you say you believe? I had to think about that. I'm like, my God. Yes, I have got to believe What I say, I believe. Do I really trust God? I have got to say, yes, I really trust God. Am I really committed to this? And I had to think about that. Would I be committed to it only if it was easy? Or am I going to push through? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep walking this thing out. Even if it's just for me. Even if I got to listen to this podcast over and over again. I'm going to do that. And so when you push through, when you persevere, when you keep going, even when it's hard, that's when you grow. That's when you mature. That's when you become complete, not lacking anything. Because the setback is not the end of your story. It's just the middle. It's the part where you're being refined. It's the part where you're being strengthened. It's the part when you're being prepared for what's next. So let me give you some practical things I've been doing when I face setbacks. Because I don't want to just give you theory. I want to give you tools. I want to give you something you can actually use. First, I pause and pray. When I hit an obstacle, my first instinct is to panic. My first instinct is to try to fix it on my own. But I've learned that I need to pause. I need to breathe. I need to pray. I need to bring it to God before I do anything else. Because when I bring it to God, He gives me a perspective. He reminds me of His promises, and He shows me that this setback is not bigger than Him. And that changes everything for me. Second, I revisit my why. When things get hard, it's easy to forget why you started in the first place. It's easy to lose sight of the vision. So I go back to my why. I remind myself why I started this podcast. I remind myself of the people I'm called to encourage. I remind myself of the purpose God gave me. And when I reconnect with my why, it reignites my passion. It reminds me that this is bigger than me, and it reminds me that I can't quit. Third, I reach out for support. Y'all, I cannot do this alone. You were meant not to do this alone. When I'm struggling, when I reach out to my people, I reach out to my friends, my family, my community. I tell them what I'm going through. I ask for prayer, and I ask for encouragement. And every single time, God uses them to speak life into me. Every single time, they remind me of who I am and whose I am. Every single time, they help me see what I can't see on my own. And that's hugely important. And I got a few people that do that for me. And they know who they are. So I thank you for always riding with me. Fourth, I take action anyway. Even when I don't feel like it, even when I'm scared, even when I'm doubting, I take action. Because action breaks the cycle of fear. Action builds momentum. Action reminds you that you're not stuck. So even if it's a small step, even if it's just showing up, even if it's just doing the next thing, I do it. Because progress is progress, no matter how small. Like I could have probably not even put out a fourth episode when I told you guys that I was having a guest, or I could have just breezed over it. But I said, all right, pivot. It's all good. And say something. Don't let the people not know what's going on, and then talk about that. So that's how I pivoted to this episode to be episode 4. And I didn't take down the 3rd episode to revamp it and say something different, because I want it to be transparent. I want it to be honest. I want to walk it out with you in front of you, so you know that I'm truly walking this out with you. And finally, my favorite thing, I give grace for myself. Y'all, so this is the one I struggled with the most, because I'm hard on myself, as I'm sure we all are. We're always harder on ourselves than we are of others. I expect myself to have it all together. I expect myself to be perfect. And when I'm not, I beat myself up. And one of the questions is, who told you that? Who told me that? Who told me I had to be perfect? Who told me I had to have it all together? Who told me that? But God has been teaching me that grace is not just for other people. Grace is for me too. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to have it all together. I'm allowed to struggle. I'm allowed to have setbacks. I'm allowed to be human. And when I give myself grace, when I stop being so hard on myself, that's when I find freedom. That's when I find peace. That's when I'm able to keep going. So here's what I want you to hear today. If you're facing a setback right now, if you hit an obstacle, if things aren't going the way you planned, I want you to know that you're not alone. I want you to know that this doesn't mean you made a mistake. I want you to know that God is still with you. The setback is not the end. It's part of the journey. And the journey is making you stronger. It's making you wiser. It's making you more like Christ. So don't give up. Don't quit. Don't let the obstacle convince you that you're on the wrong path. Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep trusting. Because God, who began a good work in you, will carry it on to completion. And that includes the setbacks. That includes the obstacles. That includes the hard parts. He's not surprised by what you're facing. He's not even worried. He's not even panicking. He's got you. And he's going to see you through. So I want to ask you, what setbacks are you facing right now? What obstacles in your way? And what would it look like to keep going anyway? What would it look like to trust God in the middle of it? What would it look like to let perseverance finish its work? Because the life you want, the breakthrough you're praying for, the victory you're believing for, it's on the other side of this obstacle. It's on the other side of this setback. You just have to keep walking. So before we wrap up today, I want to let you know what's coming next week. In episode 5, we're going to talk about community. We're going to talk about why you can't do this alone and how to find your people. Because y'all, we need each other. And I can't wait to dive into that with you. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for walking this out with me. And remember, the setback is not the end. It's just a part of the story. So keep going, keep trusting, and watch what God does. I'll see you next week. And until next time, keep walking it out. I'm your girl, Latrice Clark Jordan, and remember, have grace for yourself.